Welcome to the class of engineering graphics. Today's the topic is solid object features. As we have discussed earlier, that what is mean by primitive objects, as the primitive objects are the fundamental objects that basically serves to form a complex shape or complex models. So when we talk about solid object features, it says the first visualization technique treats object as you would normally see and feel them. Basically, solid object features talk about the um, surface features of the object, of the material. So, a closer look at the solid object reveals features or attributes which help you to visualize the object's current form, means how the object apparently look from outside. So, here is an example to explain the solid object features. As you can see here, you have a rectangular prism and a cylinder where it says you have three categories basically to that can feature out your solid object. Specifically, when it is a kind of 3D object that is not circular in nature. So it has particularly three features. One is vertex, edge, and face. Now, what is the difference between the vertex, edge, and face? On a very simpler note, I can mention that a vertex is a sharp edge, a sharp pointed area where all of your three axes basically meet. The meeting point or the reference point of three axes. Other than this, you can say vertex is the point where where three 2D planes meet each other. On the other hand, comparatively, edge is a line, not a sharp end, a pointed end, but edge is a line where two planes, not three, but two planes meet each other. You can say if it is, let's suppose, xy plane and this is xz plane. So the common axis is x-axis in between these two planes. So edge is basically a line where two surfaces or two planes perpendicularly, or if it is not perpendicular but two planes with a certain angle are meeting to each other, are touching each other, are crossing each other, are interfacing each other, that line is supposed to be as an edge. Where last but not the least is a face. Face is simple a 2D plane, a 2D surface, right? So vertex is basically a sharp pointed end where three planes meet each other. Edge, on the other hand, is a line, a sharp line where two planes meet each other, whereas face is a simple plane. So these rectangular prism and cylinder primitives shows the important features, including the edge, face, vertex, and limiting element. Let me explain you the limiting element in detail. But before that, you can see you have edge and face in case of a cylinder, but there is no sharp pointed end in like we did have in rectangular prism. So there is no uh, vertex in case of a cylinder. In case of cone, you would have a vertex. So let's see, recall them in details. Basically, these primitives demonstrate several important characteristics and attributes of the object. So that is why these are very important and easy to know as well. So edges are the lines that represent the boundary between the two faces of an object. It is a line. So It is better to remind the edge with a line and vertex with a pointed end. On real objects, edges exist at sharp break in light or dark levels on a surface. So, the meeting point or the line that meets the two surfaces. Next is face. Faces are areas of uniform or gradually changing lightness and always are bounded by edges. Of course, the boundary lines, the boundary segments of a single face. So a face is surrounded by or bounded by edges. Now, what is mean by a limiting element? Limiting element is a line that represents the farthest outside feature of the curved surface. What does that mean? It means that if you see here in cylinder, these two lines, this line and this line, these two lines are called limiting elements. Now, see, these two lines are basically, apparently, are not a kind of an edge. You can never ever compare or relate the line that are called limiting lines. You cannot call them as edge. Why is that so? Because these are not end of a single plane. Edges are basically the end point, the boundary line. Whereas the limiting element means these are not the boundary point, the boundary line. The phase, the plane is still continue. This is the only region which is apparently appearing on your screen right now, which you can see, whereas the rear view of this cylinder is invisible right now. So, limiting line indicates that it apparently looks like that this is a kind of an edge, but this is not an edge actually, because this plane is still continues to 360-degree around the cylinder, but apparently it looks like an edge. So this is called limiting element. But you can see this curved surface or plane is ending over here where your circle side, hollow side, that could be hollow cylinder, that could be a uh, shallow one. So it doesn't matter. But here two different planes are meeting each other. So this line is actually edge, but these two lines are not edge. It they appear as an edge. They show you a glimpse of an edge, but these are not edges. So these are called limiting elements. So limiting element is a line that represents the farthest outside feature of the curved surface. It is the last visible part. You see, it is written here. It is the last visible part of the curved surface and it drops away from your line of sight. It drops away from your line of sight means you cannot see beyond this line, after this line. After this line, whatever is there of the same plane is your rear view. You cannot see that, even though it is not a boundary between faces. So it says over here again, even though it is not a boundary between faces, a line is used to represent is known as a limiting line because the faces are not ending at at the point of these lines basically. That is why these are called limiting lines and not edges. Last is vertex. So vertex is another important attribute found on a brick is a corner point. If an edge is the place where two faces meet, then vertices are the place where more than two edges meet. Usually vertex is the plane is in 3D object, vertex is the point where uh, three or more than three faces meet, right? So if an edge is the place where two faces meet, then vertices are the place where more than two edges meet. Like we are just talking about a rectangular prism, a rectangular cube. But what if we talk about a hexagon object, a pentagon, or I would like to say, if you talk about a prism, you would have a three. Uh, in case of prism, the vertex point will be the point where four faces will be meeting. So if there is a point in 3D object where more than two edges meet, that point is known as vertex. So this was all about solid object features. Hope that was clear to you. See you in the next one. Thank you.